Now we look down. I personally don't take too much attention to the knees, I'll be honest with you. That's just me. I should do, but there you go. Do me a favour. Just walk back and you walk back in again. You've altered your position. So you just walk back in and you just stand as your body wants to stand. So now I'm looking at the feet. Not too bad. Okay. The arch looks okay. The feet's doing something slightly different, I'll be honest. It feels as if this one is out a bit more that way, as if there's more pressure on the outside there. But I'll probably look at that if she was lying down, which I probably will do. Nothing screaming out at me there. I'm also looking at what the Achilles are doing, because if the ankle's out, it will affect the Achilles, which affects the back. More relevant if you're dealing with sports people, I'll be honest with you. Because it's going to have a greater significance for them, especially if you're a runner, especially if you do distance running, because you're taking thousands and thousands of strides every time you go training. You can see it slightly there, I think. It's not quite the same. But anyway, don't worry. On some people, it's obvious. If the ankle is rotated in or out, it puts a kink in the Achilles, which affects the biomechanics of the leg. Okay with that? It's not an obvious there. But to me, I don't know if you can see that. It looks like it's more weight on the outside that way. Called talus varus. Anyway, okay. Having said it's not screaming out, so I'm really looking for the arch there. And there's something, when you do a postural assessment, called too many toes. Can you just put that foot out that way for me? And you look from behind and you just see too many toes. And it's usually because they've got a flat foot, what's something called pes planus. It's a technical term for a flat foot. You can relax a minute for now if you want. You can listen into this if you want to. So most people think flat foot is just, so I haven't got a sexy arch. I've got a nice sexy arch, so every time I land my foot, this is what should happen when you walk, when you run. You land the heel there, you roll it in, and you push off with your first two toes. And you push off. Super. If you've got flat-footed, I'm going to exaggerate, and I think now of the knee and what happens in the hip joints. In fact, you can feel your own hip joints. If I've got flat-footed, I'm going to do this. Bump. See the knee? In fact, you do it yourself. Just flatten the arch. Try and flatten the arch. You get knee strain, ligament strain deep within, but feel what happens in there. Then, if you land it and your arch actually supports your foot. Flat-footedness is not just, it doesn't look sexy. It's mechanical. You're putting your knee at a disadvantage, getting your ligaments disadvantage, and if you feel your hip there, you get an unnatural wear and tear. Bear in mind, the head of the femur isn't a perfect sphere, and the acetabulum, what it sits into, isn't this perfect sphere. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem. It's a certain shape, that's a certain shape, and you're sort of getting unnatural wear and tear deep within your joint.
Well, the army wouldn't have you if you've got flat feet, would they?
Years ago,
yeah,
that's different. They don't give a monkeys now. Cannon fodder anyway, go and get in there. Yeah, it used to be a thing, you're flat feet, you got to do it. In fact, after the things you do increases your flat-footed. But anyway, Joseph Pilates has always said you can cure flat-footedness, pes planus. Because a lot of it, there's different types, but keeping it simple, is to do with just strengthen the arch of the foot. So in certain movements, you'll get people to, should my foot be pointed or flexed back? If you're not given any, let's say you're doing it for abdominals, it doesn't matter, I don't care. Flex your feet back, get back to the abdominals. But anyway, I got to digress there, sorry. Pointing your feet, anything where you're pointing your feet, boy, you strengthen the arch. In fact, if people don't cramp in the foot, you probably know they're not really going for it. So that works, posterior tibialis, mainly. The biggest arch, the medial arch of your foot is mainly posterior tibialis, which also affects, it does that as well. It helps and assists your calf muscles, gastrocnemius and soleus. It tends to be problematic for some people, usually runners, if they're running up hills, usually, because there's a lot more pressure and tension on this muscle as well as the calf, so it fatigues a little bit. And it attaches to literally 7 different points under the foot, and that is responsible for the medial arch. If you really want to focus on that, anything where your foot is pointed, almost anything. Yeah? So some moves where you might want to do flex feet back if you want to focus on, that's fine, but if you wanted to focus on the arch of the foot, pointing the foot, when they're doing different moves where you might have your foot flexed back, is that okay? Do something called cherry picking. Do you do cherry picking at all? Yeah. You can do that. For me, the reason I don't, it's good, is I am knocking it away. It's just, I just think you get more bang for your buck. Well, do you single leg stretch and really point that foot? You do same sort of thing, to be honest. But anyway, let's crack on with our postural assessment now. So we've done the back. Oh, sorry. So I talked about too many toes. So that's one side. If you just see too many toes, that's usually an indication you're possibly looking at flat-footedness. Or you can literally just look at the arch, and you can usually see, and again, it's going to be more problematic if it's only happening one side rather than the other, as a general rule. Yeah, if it's happening both sides, it's usually slightly less problematic than if it's happening both. Not just flat-footed, it's other things as well. You okay with that? Usually. Okay. Any questions on a postural assessment from the rear?
What about the position of how they stand with their feet? Do you need to be thinking about
No, only other than, no, it's an observation. What I usually do, sometimes it can be just the way, because they're usually be realistic. People are usually nervous. They're probably not used to getting the kits off in front of a bloke, or maybe they are, no idea. No, but on a serious note, you get the idea. And they'll just stand, they might stand, and I've had it loads of times. That's why I actually moved Sabrina out, if you notice, and then moved her back in again. Because I wasn't happy, I don't think her foot position was...
Not in a natural.
Yeah, if you're not an insult against it, but you understand me, sometimes people still crumbs and you can sense that. Just walk back a minute, just walk back into it again. You want it as natural, without them thinking, ideally. Yeah. Sometimes I'll do it deliberately. I'm not too sure what happened with your shoulder. I don't give a monkey's about the shoulder. I want the feet in a natural position. Yeah. I'm not sure about your shoulder. So he's not trying to fix the feet. Does that make sense? Yeah. You do a bit of kidology sometimes, and then right, now I can see what's happening with your feet.
Yeah, but if their feet then naturally are just like...
Oh yeah, you're looking for it, and then you're thinking what are they doing? Dancers will usually stand like that, like Charlie Chaplin. Why? Because they're fixated with external rotation. So if someone was standing naturally like that, you're looking at what muscles do that. The biggest one is going to be your glute ones, all the short external rotators. Piriformis being the biggest one. Glute medius, I should say. Glute medius, piriformis.
So I already thought that when I took the photos.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he standing like that? Like
yeah.
a ballerina, right?
Yeah, so then you'd be looking at what movements can you do to correct that, which will be anything where you're stretching that. So for argument's sake...
trying to achieve that, is that
yes.
what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
Okay, so
now, okay, I apologise. So I sort of see what you're getting at. What the so-called anatomical correct position, in inverted commas, would be slightly out. We call it Pilates stance 1, do we not? Pilates stance 1, Pilates stance 2. We don't tend to use that anymore. That would be Pilates stance 2, Pilates stance 1. That's just what we do. So yeah, so technically it's not directly ahead, it's slightly that way. How far that way? Now, there's other muscles that can affect that. Probably one of the other major ones would be the hamstring group, the hamstring muscle called rectus femoris. No, bicep femoris, because it attaches to the fibula head there. Mm-hmm. And if that's tight or dominant, it'll tend to do that. Yeah. Okay. Mixed with a bit of a weak, maybe is it a weakness for sartorius? If the sartorius is tight, you might get. So, know your anatomy and you get an idea. Usually it's from here, if people are like that, usually. So but that also can play a part in it. Yeah. The bicep... femoris. No. Yeah, bicep femoris. I went blank then. But you get the idea of that. Okay. So what's the so-called ideal is feet slightly out to the side. Okay. Yeah. But you're after the centre of mass being in the centre there and just in front. It's actually over the navicular bone. And evolution is fantastic. Remember I was saying about arches? The strongest part of the arch is the top of the arch. The whole arch is strong, but I can't get a really good arch there, can I? But the top, the keystone they call it, that's where the navicular is. It's amazing. That's where your centre of mass should be, or is on most people. It's over there. Evolution's great. So we have evolved to walk upright. Probably you could bullshit other reasons when we were like that, to be honest with you, but there you go. And also should be directly in the center. In other words, if I was looking at Sabrina's left foot, it looks like, I'll exaggerate that she's sort of doing that. So again, you could be, let's say it was doing that. I'm going to lie down in a minute and do that, and I'll see, yeah? If it is doing that, what muscles could be weak, which muscles could be tight? Come on, do you know your anatomy? Well, one I've just spoken of could be overly worked, and that could be the posterior tibialis, because that supports the arch. Probably more likely, it's perineal. Perineal longus, perineal brevis. What they effectively do, they do a number of things, by the way, but they do that. Swimmers have got really, and this is what I was on about, don't forget, don't let professional arrogance get in the way. They're swimmers, they want their feet sort of like that. Dancers possibly as well. Yeah. In fact, I usually tell swimmers and horse riders as well, go heels down, heels down, heels down. Their foot tends to do that. Certainly swimmers. When you're lying down, you'll see it more. The foot sort of like that. You do swimming. Wow, you're a genius. You're a mind reader. No, just look at your feet. Don't always get it right, but perineal. So you'd be, if they wanted to correct it, you'd be looking at possibly working the perineal longus, perineal brevis. Also plays a massive part in lateral stability, ankle stability, but not just ankle stability. Within the physio world, they say, oh yes, you need to strengthen your perineals to strengthen your ankle. It does so much more than that. It's lateral. Think falls in the elderly. So if you're going to work with elderly population, work that muscle. You don't relax. Does anyone do yoga at all? Or any balancing for that matter? Even just walking, it does help with gait, is having this muscle strong. It needs to be strong to protect, to help you keep your balance. Remember, the weight should be there. Most people hang out, I call it hanging out the ankles. Most people tend to, I'm going to exaggerate, it's like that. That isn't exaggerating. Most people tend to stand like that rather than a bit more like that and engage these muscles. Keep the ankles strong and keep your stability. Anyway.
So what's the link between the arches and the Achilles? Because
Okay, it's mechanical. So,
Yeah.
where's my
My
foot gone?
son's got, well, my husband's got Achilles and he's given an arch support, seems to have fixed it, very funny. And my son's got really tight Achilles and he stands like that.
Watch him lying down then. I'll do it on you in a minute. What I was getting at was, sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not, so don't worry, this is only a level 3. Let's say, now the Achilles shouldn't actually run through, but let's keep it simple. It should run. There's the foot, there's the heel. Calcaneal tendon is the technical, there you go. And it runs up there to the calf, it attaches to what's called a triceps surae. Anyway, if the ankle's rolled in, basically, or out, you put a kink in it. The Achilles is sort of kinked, so it affects the biomechanics. That's really hard to show on there. It sort of, I'm exaggerating, it sort of does that. So the line of pull should be there. You're mechanically putting it in a position where it's not advantageous. It's not going to be efficient, is the bottom line. It's just not efficient. And you're going to have to pull in an unnatural way. That's all. Anyway, you okay with that? Okay, so you're facing the front. You just face the front. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now can you turn and face the right and just look straight ahead. Don't be looking at any pretty pictures. So now, remember that picture that we have in our book on page 7? That's the so-called ideal version. So is the head jutting forward? No, she seems to have anything but of a flat neck there. I don't know whether that's for our benefit or that's how she actually stands. On that note, I'm not joking by the way. On that note, you know the best time to do a postural assessment? When they don't realise when they're walking in or sitting down or moving around. It's the best time to get an honest view of what they're doing. Because I'm no different. If someone told me to stand as I honestly stand, I said, no way, I'm showing my gut, I'm pulling that bugger in. It's just ego, it's human nature, I'm just being honest. So, okay, not bad, quite nice. Shoulder, in the ideal world, if you drop a plumb line down from the tip of that ear, it should go in front of that. So, shoulders are coming round, in line. It's lovely when it matches what you see from the back. The right shoulder is far more rolled forward than the left. Yeah? What muscles can do that? We've already spoken about them. Which muscles do you need strengthening? Which ones do you need stretching? From the side, the biggest ones to see, not much of a low dosage there, that's good. There's enough, there's plenty. Kyphosis, good. Not really.